Of our tasters. We had one last night as well, and it's very pleasing to see the number of people taking part in these tasters because I think it shows the possibilities lying behind this method of teaching via Zoom. So we've had people, we are having people from, well, not only Melbourne, but right around Victoria and indeed around Australia. So all sorts of possibilities are being opened up by this new method of teaching. I'm associate professor at CTC and coordinator of this particular certificate. And my teaching is in the area of spirituality and also in interfaith relations. So very exciting to be involved with all of that and to be involved with this graduate certificate. Chris and I have worked on this for many years. We've had a long, good association in a variety of contexts. And so this is part of our ongoing development of this course. Chris, would you like to say a few words also about yourself? And about, yes, please.
Yeah, thanks, John. Also, just a warm welcome for this evening. And as it says, I'm the head of department at the Catholic Theological College in the Pastoral and Spiritual Studies area, a lecturer in spirituality. And just to echo what John said about meditation and this course in meditation, which has been a kind of a new course to develop over the years, and something about the gift of meditation, something that's been a profound gift in my life, and it moves in and grows over time. This course has very much been an evolving course, one in which John and I have worked together. So we're really delighted to welcome you this evening. What we'll do is give some background to the course itself first. We've got a few slides to share. And then at the end, we'll have extra time for questions or comments, and we can stay on the line longer if there are other questions too. So please know that we'll have time for those questions and comments. There's also a chat function at the bottom of your screen, and you might have a question as we're speaking. Feel free just to put it into the chat, any response or question while you think of it, and we can look at that and get back to it towards the end of the session as well. So we'll begin with a slide for John to go through. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Well, this first slide here is attempting to show visually the scope of the graduate certificate. And there's two very lovely photos here, and they do relate one to the other. You might say there's a transition or a dynamism between the two. So looking at the first one, this beautiful scene there in the mountains and the lake, this is trying to show something of where the whole graduate certificate is wanting to lead the participants in it. There are two boats there, and these boats, you might say, have reached their destination. They come to the landing after crossing the waters. And in a sense, this represents what we're trying to do in meditation. That is to take part in the journey of life, the journey of the interior life, and to come to our true self, to come to the very heart of the matter, to come to the true self where God dwells. So this idea of reaching the shore is a big part of this progress that we're involved with in the certificate. And of course, it is a position of stillness, the stillness of the water there. It is beautifully still. And the aim is to reach the stillness in this journey of life. Life can be turbulent, but the person who comes to meditation and the depth of their own being will find a stillness that is there present even under the waves and tumult of life. And I think this is valid for all people, for teachers, of course, to find it in their particular environment, but also one might think particularly for people in parishes and people involved in chaplaincy and hospitals, to enable people to find that stillness, to come to that stillness within, to come to rest, rest in God, be still and know that I am God, is that famous phrase. Then, of course, the water there is perfectly still, and because it is perfectly still, it can reflect the heavens and also the whole landscape of the beautiful mountains. So heaven and earth are being reflected in the water. That is, the water, you might say, embraces heaven and earth. And likewise, the meditator who comes to their stillness will find that they are united with heaven and earth. There are two boats, and there is the idea of then that life is a journey together. We move together, we need each other, we embrace each other, we contribute to each other, we learn from each other. And so it's not a solitary and alone, full of solitude, but something which is done in communion and in company. Then, of course, the clarity of the water is there, clarity of this pure mountain water, which is so clear that one could perceive the very depths of this particular lake, the fish there and the reeds and the bottom, the rocks at the bottom of the lake. So one not only sees the heavens, one sees into the depths of things. So the depths are revealed. Now, this whole process of coming to truth, one's own truth, the truth of God, this relates then to the second image there, which is that of the basin of water. So the two waters, you might say, the waters of the lake and the waters of the basin are related. One leads to the other, one is associated with the other. So we have then these two doves that are there, and they are drinking from the water, so that the meditator then becomes himself or herself a source of life and nourishment. And this is true for all people. Anyone who comes to their truth, whatever their state of health will be, whatever their education, whatever their status, they can become a source of life and nourishment for others. And the basin is circular, which has that sense of eternity and fullness and completeness and wholeness. The circle is always seen as a symbol of wholeness and eternity. The basin then is also a place of welcome. The birds are welcome there. They feel quite safe and they can drink there. And the purpose then of this meditation is that people can then become welcoming to others. As they become tranquil in themselves, they become tranquil towards others, and they achieve the wholeness of their being in every respect, and can help others to achieve wholeness as well. Then there's the element of beauty. It's a very beautiful mosaic. And this idea of meditation manifests beauty, despite the wrinkles and the grey hair that come eventually. The person who comes to meditation will radiate a beauty which nothing can remove. Then, of course, there are the two birds there, but they represent all creation. All creatures find nourishment and safety and wholeness in those who have learned to meditate and come to the depths. There's also the element of vulnerability, which we are not afraid of being vulnerable because we have security so that the wounds of life do not in fact disturb us, and we are open to others and have sensitivity to others as well. So just a few points there about the scope of the certificate, how these two images show the progress of finding oneself and finding God, of course, who is at the very center of our being, and this leads to being of use and value to others. So just a few words there. So Chris, you might like to move on to the next slide if you like.
So again, here's that same image of the stillness, and this is Our Lady of Mercy College, some of the Year 12 girls there meditating. One of our participants in the course, she led the girls in meditation as part of her involvement in our course. So from that stillness to some kind of sharing of the gift of meditation and prayer is something central to the course. And often people come for different reasons. So often I want to deepen my prayer or meditation life, as it were, and the course cultivates our personal practice. All the way through, we'll be looking at different practices, not just theoretically, but experientially, practicing and learning and reading and having time with those practices. And also, how then are we being called, perhaps, maybe in a parish or a different setting, our work, a classroom, whatever it may be? How do we feel this call, perhaps, to share it with others? It seems to go that way. We're interested in meditation, and then there seems a natural movement to want to share the fruits of that. So the course also looks at the skills. How do we lead a class? How do we introduce? How do we do the transitions and help people into the process? So I wonder just what you've even seen so far tonight, these images, and just part of the course would be to have moments to meditate, to reflect, and wonder in ourselves what's happening and why we're even a little bit interested tonight in the course. What's calling us? What are we hoping for? Nice music coming in for us here to reflect with. Let me just fix that up. So you might just want to take just a very brief moment to reflect and open our hearts to this, the possibilities in all this for us. And maybe just notice what is happening, and we could perhaps bring that up at the end if you like, or just to hold that as we're continuing on. And this experiential approach of the course is structured around 3 units that we'll briefly have a look at now.
Well, thanks, Chris. Looking at this first of the units here, meditation in the Christian tradition, this opens up to the participants the whole richness of the Christian spiritual experience over the centuries. This is the first dot point there. There's this extraordinary depth and richness and variety of the spiritual experience that Christians have had, and this is something which is now being made available. And people are thirsting for the riches that are there waiting to be discovered. It's this whole idea of seeing that this is experience, and the participants themselves can start to experience their own richness too. This experience is part of the evidence-based nature of our course. And the purpose then, the second dot point there, is to discover one's own spiritual gift, because we do have, by the grace of God, gifts given to us specially, individually, which of course do fit in perfectly with the whole trajectory of the Christian path, but which are particularly ours. And to discover what that gift is an enormous part of our course. Who are you? Who are you spiritually? What is your gift? And to know that gift is to come to one's authenticity, to one's true self, and to start to be who one really is, or to become more fully what one really is. And this question is being appreciated more and more by those who are engaged in what is called contemplative science, branch of thought now, because they're starting to realize that there is this immense richness in the whole contemplative tradition of the Christian church. The third dot point here, the emphasis in this particular unit is on silent meditation, looking at not only Christian meditation as taught by John Main and Lawrence Freeman, but also centering prayer as taught by Thomas Keating. And it's important then for people to develop a private prayer. We speak a lot about the public liturgy of the Mass and the sacraments, but this must be held in counterpart with private prayer. So the private meditation, the private spiritual practice fits in perfectly and leads to the public celebration of the sacraments and the Mass. This is particularly true in parishes, particularly relevant in parishes, I suppose, and those who are engaged in parish life in an official fashion, to develop the practice of private prayer, which then people who have developed their private prayer and meditation will wish to come together with others and to share their gifts in the public celebration of the Mass. It goes on then to the fourth point, to look at the distinctive character of Christian meditation, which has its own particular quality, divine quality, of course, with its benefits, its values, and its outstanding transcendent value. So to know what is distinctive about it, but also to do so in relationship with other forms of meditation, such as found in mindfulness, Buddhism, and so on. There's a fifth doc point here now, to show how these can enhance each other and discover each other's distinctive character and grow and develop in the process. So I've perhaps said enough on this for the moment, on this first unit. Chris, would like to go to the next slide, perhaps? This next one is concerned with meditation, as the title is Meditation and Wholeness. So the question, of course, which is so important and people wish to know it these days, what is wholeness? In body, mind, and spirit. The whole person then. How can a person become truly whole? What transformation can occur in the person? Or to use the Christian term, what transfiguration can occur, being transfigured on the model of Christ Jesus? Not only oneself, but the whole world too, become transformed and changed and reach its fullness. So that is this question then, what is wholeness in the Christian view, and how can the Christian approach in meditation and Lectio Divina contribute to this full wholeness of the person? The next dot point is we deal with healing and enhancement, and of course this applies to everyone in every circumstance. Everyone needs healing to some extent, in some fashion or another, and of course this goes counterpart with the enhancement, so that a person then, by the practice that we're proposing and showing in our course, this leads to a person becoming more and more truly human, but also at the same time becoming more and more like God. As St. John says in the first letter, we shall see God as really is because we become like him, like God, like him, like her. And so we truly see. And this is relevant, of course, to every circumstance, but I suppose if we're thinking of people in hospitals, to know that that their prayer, however they do it, is a healing thing and enhancing and bringing them to fullness of hope. The third doc point there refers to Lectio Divina, which is the meditation upon the scripture, a very particular form of entering into the scriptures, or if you like, the scripture entering into those who take part in this, so that they become one with the word. And this leads to contemplation, which is the aim of Lectio Divina. And the Lectio Divina is immensely valuable, not just in schools, but really for people in parishes, in chaplaincies, in hospitals, for a person who is unwell, for example, to be able to take a simple phrase from the gospel that touches them to the heart, like, help me, or in you I place all my trust. So to be able to repeat over and over again a word that has touched them from the Lectio Divina, to explore then the scriptures in a real way, where the scriptures become alive. And because scriptures are spoken not just to the whole church, but to each individual, and individually and personally to each person. The next point is psychology and spirituality is dealt with. The interrelationship of these two, which is very intricate and significant. So in what way then does psychology influence spirituality? And in what way does spirituality develop the psyche? This is a massively important topic, which Jake Mudge develops, Dr. Jake Mudge develops. Then the fifth point there, the value of the aging process, which is done particularly by Reverend Dr. Laurie McNamara. And so he shows that aging is indeed a value, and it has its own process, its own dimension, which must not be lost. So the different aspects then of meditation and wholeness are covered a little bit by these 5 dot points. So Chris, would you like to say something about the next unit?
Thanks, John. So the third unit is teaching meditation and prayer, and it's an opportunity for us to learn the skills of leading meditation and prayer in different contexts. And that word context is really to be taken note of. There's the students who have done the course and will do in the future will be able to bring their own context. Where are they sensing that they want to lead this or try this out? And there's been many examples in classrooms from prep to year 12. There have been students who have looked at whole school approaches to meditation, then groups in parishes of different types, starting a prayer group, you know, on a Tuesday morning or just with a few people and building it up there, how that might look more widely in a parish, in homes too, in aged care facilities, in retreat and meditation centres, but also others in chaplaincy, in hospitals, how that might play into that. And it's been just a great experience for all of us lecturing this, to see how people have done this in all sorts of different ways that we couldn't have imagined. But the course is set up to help students to develop their own project in this area. From the very beginning of the year, you'll be asked, oh, where might you want to take this? We'll be reflecting on that as we go through the 3 units of the tradition and wholeness, and then learning those facilitation skills as we go, and having an opportunity to practice and be guided with that practice and come back and reflect, like an action reflection approach to it. So this unit somehow brings together the different aspects of the course, and we have the opportunity to develop our own personal portfolio of how we, the kinds of area we'll practice in, and write about that and develop some plans in that area and pull things together around our own gift. So, John, shall we move to the next slide? Do you want to say a word before we do, perhaps?
I just wanted to add, you mentioned about some of our students have been doing fascinating things in this, the practical side of the teaching. And there's one of them who had his students in Singapore and India, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
So he was able to, it's just fantastic.
And that's a thing we've learnt this year too, with what Zoom can do. So we were sort of, normally people were leading in, you know, face to face, but then suddenly he led his group over Zoom, and he had people internationally in the group. So it's very much becomes all sorts of possibilities there. Just some of the organisation, just 2 more slides, and then we'll have an opportunity to ask questions. The course is structured over 1 year. The 3 units weave in and out across the year. So you may want to do the course over 1 year, but also the units can be done individually too, one at a time. It's possible to enrol as an award and do the assessment and achieve the award, or audit the units, meaning you come and attend and you read and you learn, but you don't need to actually submit the assessments. Each unit involves 36 hours of contact, but we're breaking that up into 24 hours of online sessions, face-to-face via Zoom, this modality we're on tonight, and 12 hours is homework. We do that ourselves and perhaps submit something through reading or reflecting on questions. So each of the units is 24 hours of contact time, as it were, and they're taught on Saturdays throughout the year. The timetable is available now. We haven't put it up here, but it's just a click away at the CTC website. When you go to that link, you need to then choose Full Year Intensives 2021. We'll send you this PowerPoint, by the way, so you'll have this detail in the PowerPoint. We'll send it to everyone here tonight. But when you get to the timetable, you just need to click on Full Year Intensives, because our units go across the whole year, okay? And lastly, the course fulfills the requirements of Meditation Australia, which is a peak body for meditation in Australia, and that can be helpful depending on our context. Further questions in enrolment, John Bartholomew's, who's here tonight, he can help us with any questions around enrolment and those sorts of issues. There's also a how to enrol link to the website there, if you can immediately go ahead and do that. There's some open days coming up that you might be sent details about. You're welcome to. Our emails are there too, myself and John. A free resource will be sent to you this week via email, and this PowerPoint, so just to let you know that as well. But it's really time. John, did you want to say something before questions?
Well, I think just to add that the recording also has been made tonight, and that will be sent as well to the to everyone. So it's
so I'm going to
there
stop.
Was a question. Yes, please.
I'll stop the share, and now we can go to some questions as well.